Okay, welcome everyone to the Business Hot Seat Summit. I am so excited that you have chose to join us today. I know that your time is valuable, and I know that the speakers that have so generously said yes to coming on, the value of their time as well. And they're sought after. They're sought after speakers. They are in high demand. And so I'm just very appreciative of all of the time and effort and that they have chose to give it their expertise on this. And so the theme is how to turn your passion into profits. And for all of those that are joining us, just make sure that you mute yourself as soon as you come in. So that we'll just make sure that everybody is muted so there's no background. There we go. And I also want to thank Ann Lobos, who is with us as well, that she has so generously offered her time as well to help kind of monitor and watch. And so if you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the chat. Anne is going to be looking at that. And I really do want a lot of involvement and to help you. So one of the things I found out was that when I started my businesses, probably almost 30 years ago, so this is kind of dating me back then, I had no clue what I was doing. I ended up owning a salon when I was 90 days out of cosmetology school. One thing I learned about the trade industry is they teach you how to do the trade. They teach you to take the state license, but they don't teach you about business. And because of that, I didn't know what you don't know what you don't know. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring on these experts, because I spent so much money and so much time doing it the wrong way. And so I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce our first speaker for today. Hopefully hopefully you can hear me okay. Stephanie, am I coming in better? Just let us know. So my first speaker, thank you, Paul. Paul, he just told me how to say it too. Mladjenovic. I probably blew that, but I apologize. He is a certified financial planner. Again, a sought after speaker. He does national seminars, author, consultant. And one of the things I loved about him is that he's written several books. And one of those is about home-based businesses. He's also written Affiliate Marketing for Dummies, Internship, and you can tell I'm nervous. Let me take a deep breath. There we go. Entrepreneurship for Dummies, Gold and Silver for Dummies, Precious Metal Investments. He's got the whole gamut. He has shared his knowledge with Fox News, Fox Business, Bloomberg, News Network, all over the United States and abroad. And I am just so very thrilled, Paul, for you coming, and thank you again for coming and sharing your talent and your tips. And so because I blew your name up, and I apologize, one thing I also loved about Paul is that he called me up and he said, hey, let's just have a conversation. And that's one of the things I loved about that. And so I hope that you guys are hearing me okay. Are you? Am I frozen?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if you want.
Am I okay now? I came here to Salt Lake.
You're about to say, and one thing is I like about Paul is, and then I don't hear you and I'm like, oh, what is that?
One thing I liked about Paul was that he called me up on the phone and he said, hey, I want to learn more about you and about what's going on. And that's one thing I loved about that, is that he was, you took command, right? And I know that a lot of people do a lot of texting and so forth. And I just love talking in person. I love building relationships. So Paul, I'm going to turn a little bit of time First of all, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into where you're at and what you're doing.
Well, thank you kindly. I know I made a panel on the PowerPoint to touch base with that, but thank you for asking, because I think my beginnings were a humble background. You know, I mean, obviously now, I mean, 2020, it was my 35-year anniversary of being a certified financial planner. And for me, my family were escapees from a communist country in 1963. And I came to America and I saw, you know, how prosperous it was, certainly better than where I came from. And that started me off in my teen years to really learn about wealth building and investing and starting a business. And after all these decades of this, you know, it's a passion of mine. So after escaping from a communist country, that's why my website is called Raving Capitalist. That's how you become a raving capitalist. You escape from a communist country. And so for me, people need to understand that entrepreneurship is, I could make the argument that entrepreneurship is the most important part of a successful economy. And this is why I jumped at the chance to be at any conference that celebrates entrepreneurship and gives people powerful information to build their wealth, to become self-employed. So with that, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an author. Some of you might know me as I wrote the book Stock Investing for Dummies and so much more. But the bottom line, it's not about me. It's about all of you. I'm hoping that first of all, thank you for making me the first speaker, and thank you for making it the start of 2021. I think it's going to be sensational for all of you, but you take advantage of it, right? I don't wish you a good year. I say make it a good year. All right. So thank you for that opening remark. Thank you.
Absolutely. But one of the things too is I love that you're sharing first is that, you know, when we start out as business owners and that we don't think about wealth, right? We come from that of I'm putting all this money into my business, and down the road, we end up, you know, maybe not even having any kind of investments. So when you're working with business owners, how do you help them? Did you hear me, Paul?
With the audio, so I hope.
Okay, I apologize. I came here with hopes that I'd have good internet. Let me see.
So I'm hotspotting off my phone.
Okay.
And I'm not having
Okay. And would you jump on and just ask him a couple of questions? I'm going to try and fix my audio.
Well, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to jump in on my topic. So
okay.
Okay, tell me what to ask him, Lisa.
Just how he got started.
How'd you get started, Paul?
How did I get started?
Yeah.
Right, believe it or not, in 1981, I mean, it was literally on my birthday, March 19, 1981, during the last year of my college days. You know what I mean? And because and even though I was planning on getting a job after college and whatever, you know, I started part-time from a very humble apartment in Hoboken, New Jersey at the time. And because I wanted to have more control over my time and my effort and have no limits on the ability to grow my wealth. So for me, that's how it started. Part-time from the very way I tell people to start off, and how I focus on some of my content in this presentation is how I did it myself. And I went to the School of Hard Knocks, but I became full-time a few years thereafter. And now I'm doing this full-time, and I love what I do, and I love sharing it with people such as this wonderful crowd that we have this morning. And I thank you again.
There we go. Let me see. How is that? Can you hear me better?
Sounds good to me now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ann. So if you could go back and talk to yourself, you know, back when you very first started, what is one thing that you would have said to yourself back then?
I don't know if you heard did you hear that question, Paul? She said, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you first started, what is one thing you would tell yourself, knowing what you know now?
Right, like what I would have told myself in retrospect, you know, in my first year. To have stayed at a job a little bit longer and spent a little bit more time at night learning, especially the realm of marketing, to be able to have a better time getting clients. And that is important. The one thing I've learned over the years is that I can break down any business into two phases, which is the setup phase, and then there's the marketing phase. The setup phase is like, getting it started, website, getting a name, registering. Easy part. The tough part that I learned was on the marketing side. No matter what you're offering, it always takes marketing and getting people to find out about you and touch base with you. So in retrospect, I would have told myself to have started my business a little bit later, therefore would have spent more of my time, learning more of the things such as lead generation and other skills that are very important, especially in your first year or two of doing business. So that's what I would have told myself. All righty.
Remember when I started my business, I'm only about 2 years old, into it. And I thought, okay, my website is up. Like everybody's just going to all of a sudden come flocking to me. And then I realized, okay, that's not the way it works, is it?
Exactly. All right. But hopefully on all of your end, when I get the opportunity, I'll, well, tell me what next you'd like to do, Lisa, before I jump into my content.
You're kind of frozen still. What do you want to ask next?
After we go ahead, I'll share the
Okay, so go ahead, Paul, and she's going to share the screen.
Okay, much obliged. This way we get a chance to be into the visual realm. And anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to my session. And I'm so grateful that all of you are here for Lisa's conference. I mean, I cheer her on because we need more business advocates out there, and I'm so glad that she's part of it. And I hope all of you have a sensational year, and I thank you for making me first. I mean, very briefly, I literally started my business part-time in March of 1981, and I've been teaching about, and by the way, as I called myself the raving capitalist, it is actually an approach. It's a two-pronged approach. As many of you see, those are my books up on the screen. And the two prongs of wealth building in a business is the first prong I teach about and I do is passive wealth building, like having your money work for you, like investing in stocks and so much more. So in other words, having your money work for you. And that's the primary focus of my financial planning practice. And I've been a CFP. Last year was my 35-year anniversary of being a CFP. But the second prong of your wealth building approach, the raving capitalist approach, is active wealth building. And that's what we're all here for during this sensational conference. Active wealth building, that you put your time, your effort, your creativity, your initiative into making income for yourself and building wealth. So for me, that's the whole point about me being here. And the freebie that I'm sharing with all of you, I actually added content onto that. I shared with Lisa a link. I did a dedicated page just for the people who are at this conference as my thanks for you to being at this great conference and kicking off your year, hopefully a spectacular and a successful one. In that, and I'll talk more about the resources that are there, but I even included a 1-hour free webinar on 50 business ideas because I want you to have ideas to get rolling with this, because this is what certainly what I'm all about in my classes. So and by the way, if I could just say something very briefly, last month, Stock Investing for Dummies became the bestseller #1 in its category on business investments. So I'm a grateful man. I'm telling you, you come from being poor in Yugoslavia from many years ago to being where I'm at now to share people with this, and I'm grateful for that, and I thank you kindly. And the point of my talk really is that I want to get people rolling off to get excited about their business pursuits is that all of you, whether you're already in a home business or you're thinking about it in any way, I want to give you the 7 powerful reasons that why I think everybody should have a part-time home business. And I don't care if you're a college student, if you're a retiree, all of you have something to offer to the world where you build your wealth because you're giving other people value. Because that's the whole point about being an entrepreneur. You help others with their problems and issues, and they pay you for it. So it's a win-win situation. And entrepreneurs, like everybody on this conference call, you're experts in making win-win transactions. And that's where you start off with this. But everyone needs to have 7 reasons. And even if you already are convinced about having a home business, hopefully I'm going to give you some points in this presentation to make sure you don't just make income, you build true wealth so that you have, you can add 6 or 7 figures to your net worth during your entrepreneurial years, whether you're part-time or full-time. And the number one powerful reason why you should have a home business is the one that all of you thought of even before I started speaking about it, which is extra income or generating income. And obviously that's a good one is anyone, because as all of you know, first of all, think about the year we had left, 2020. Some spectacular difficulties. Millions of people lost their jobs. Millions of entrepreneurs, I mean, hundreds of thousands saw their businesses close. So for me, whether you have a business or not, whether you have a job or not, taking your spare time and turning it into extra income is the first and most obvious reason for getting into your home-based business. But the thing is this, I like it because when you're making that extra income, this is how you get money to work for you. I teach about investing all the time. A lot of my clients over the years were able to get to financial independence sooner rather than later, earning more money rather than less. And the first powerful reason for home business is, of course, that extra income. But number 2, I have up there enjoyment. And let me tell you something. I don't just have enjoyment in there because it sounds good. Sometimes you hear about somebody's speakers, the motivational speakers. Yes, you should enjoy yourself and have lots of fun in your business. Well, that's very true. But most important thing is that's also the key to your success. That's why all of you should choose an activity that you have a passion in, that you love to do, because look, business is not easy. Having the initiative to get out of bed and work a business, it's not easy. You have to overcome lots of difficulties. You're going to have your good times and your bad times. But if you enjoy your business, that's going to propel you to success, propel you to excellence, propel you to make more money over the coming months and years. So definitely these 2 reasons kick it off. But then we get into more concrete reasons as well. We have a person on the group who's a CPA who can drill down on all the details of this. But the third reason I love for people to have a home-based business is tax benefits. And whenever I get a chance to do my classes on starting a home business, like my class called Home Business Gold Mine, I ask people, do you understand that even if you're doing a spare time business from your kitchen table at home or in a spare room, whatever you're doing, do you know that you can qualify to have your own, literally set up your own 401k plan? So a lot of people don't realize that. Your home business opens up many powerful possibilities. And how many of us were stuck at home, during 2020 because of the pandemic? Well, let me tell you something. If you're going to be stuck at home doing work, then take advantage of the tax benefits that come with this. Like one of the most powerful benefits is to have a home office that lets you be able to write off a portion of your, if you're a renter, a portion of your rent, or if you're a homeowner, a portion of your mortgage interest and your real estate taxes, etc. But the home office deduction is one of the most powerful tax benefits. It helps you save thousands on your taxes year in and year out. So I want everyone to have a legitimate home business, because now it's at the point where the IRS knows that many people have a home business. So they have its own form. You can write off a home office on Form 8829, again, which your tax person should be aware of. But with your home office, you could be able to then travel, business meals. I mean, if you left your home office and went to a conference and had to visit it, or to go do a business errand, those miles are business miles. You can be able to write it off. So the tax benefits tied to a home business are very powerful. And to a great extent, you're already spending money on this. You're just not deducting it because it's not a business deduction. It's a personal deduction. For example, business meals. Let's say, for example, during the course of a regular year, you spend, I don't know, let's make believe $10,000 for the year on business meals. Well, what if half of those meals, just regular personal meals? Now, personal meals are not deductible, but what if half of that $10,000 worth of meals, what if they were business meals? Well, now you have $5,000 that help you save on your taxes. And let's face it, if you're going to eat a meal anyway, it might as well be tax deductible. So a home business, being an entrepreneur, lets you have that kind of powerful benefit because $5,000 now you can take those 2,500 and do what with it? Invest it so you can build wealth for the long term. But anyway, talk to your tax person and do it now. And I don't just mean because of 2020, but set it up for 2021 so that this time next year you look back on 2021 and say, I made plenty of money, but I saved thousands on taxes, and now that's money working for me and not against me. So the third reason to have a home business is because of the tax benefits. And again, everything, I mean, I do an entire class called How to Make Any Expense Tax Deductible. And the real key is that the home business gives you this powerful boost, in your finances of saving on your taxes. Because for many people, taxes that you pay directly or indirectly is the biggest single expense for many people, even people who are in the middle class, without a doubt. All right, so keep in mind the freebie that I give with the link with Lisa toward the end will give you the link, and that'll even give you publications from the IRS that'll help you with writing off a home office, etc. So tax benefits, again, very powerful in many ways. The other reason I have a home business is building long-term wealth. As I mentioned earlier, when you have a home business, you qualify to be able to have a solo 401k plan if you wanted to do that. But one of my favorite plans for people is the SEP IRA, the self-employed plan. Now, many people realize with an IRA, you can be able to deduct up to $6,000 in a year, and if you're over 50, you can deduct some more money, and it could be up to $7,000, give or take. Again, your tax person will give you the details on that. But the great thing is about being self-employed is that when you qualify to do a SEP IRA, you can be able to set aside up to 20% of self-employed net income from your business up to a limit of $57,000 per year. Well, that just blows away the limits on regular IRAs, which means that the more you make money with your business, the more you can set aside, and the faster you can have money accumulated publication here, IRS publication 560, you can get at the IRS website that goes into greater details about this. So in other words, simply because you're in a home business and even doing it part-time, you can set aside a portion of your money that is greater than some other plans that are for non-entrepreneurs that are out there. So speak to your tax person about this. I think this is a very powerful benefit. But this is benefit number 4, that the home business gives you a path to be able to build long-term wealth, greater with more power, and sooner, to give you financial independence, again, sooner rather than later. All right. Let me here. I'm going to put the next 3 up here. Number 5. Keep in mind that when you create a business, and I told you, your passion will be very powerful for you. I recall a client of mine many years ago. She was actually a speech therapist, but on the weekends she loved to do something fun. She would get dressed up, in a clown outfit and do children's parties. And she did this on the weekends, and she did a sensational job. And then later on, once she got her speech therapy license and got enough clients, she simply stopped doing her sideline business. And I thought to myself, why did you do that? Keep in mind that, when you have a business that you are running, you now have an asset that is very valuable that other people will pay you money for. All right, because let me tell you something. There are 2 kinds of businesses in this world, and that's businesses with no clients and businesses with clients. And whenever you have a business that has clients, you now have a powerful and profitable asset you can resell to others. In her case, I told her, don't just simply stop doing it. If I were you, make it a formal business. And even if you were to list it with a business broker, you can turn around and sell it. So in other words, what I want all of you to understand is that when you are building a business and generating income from it, later on, don't just simply stop doing it. Remember, you've built up a profitable asset that could be sold for 6 figures or more to somebody else, which is just a wonderful kicker to your nest egg. And think about what people have done, out there. I recall the true story of the two people who launched an email service many years ago, and they built up this email service, and they didn't make much money with it from an income point of view, but it was a valuable asset. They turned around, you might recall it, it's called Hotmail, and they turned around and they sold it for $750 to Microsoft. And that started as a home-based business. And think of anybody else. You might have heard of somebody named Mr. Hewlett and Mr. Packard. May not have been a home-based business, but it was in the home, and it was in their garage, definitely. But that turned obviously into a multi-billion-dollar business. You have a profitable asset that can be sold for a fortune later on. So don't just do it for the income. I want you to have the end game in mind. You're starting off the beginning of the year. Wouldn't it be great that you could be able to, on the other side of it, be able to now package your business and sell it to others? And again, imagine making an additional 50,000, 100,000, $250,000, or much, much more. And that'll definitely be an excellent kicker to your nest egg. And I know entrepreneurs out there who are serial entrepreneurs. They'll do a business, sell it, then do a new one, because they love the passion of growing an enterprise, helping other people, making a profit, creating value, because that's what entrepreneurs are good at: giving value and getting value and creating value, okay, which is what we want. And especially now, the economy has been ravaged. People need assistance. This is where you can be able to come in. And this is where I cheer you on. I want everyone to be an entrepreneur. I don't care who you are. You have value to give to others, and turning your business into a profitable asset is just a phenomenal benefit, a powerful reason to have a home business. Number 6, up on the screen, diversification. Look, you're talking to a financial planner. Financial planners go to sleep saying diversification, diversification. That's all we talk about. But the thing is this: whenever I see people, for the average person, when they have a job, that's for them a source of income. But when I talk to people about diversification, it isn't just from what financial planners talk about. Yes, you should have a portfolio and have stocks and bonds and ETFs and mutual funds. Yeah, that's the typical thing that financial planners talk about when they talk about diversification. But I take it to the next level. Yes, financial planners talk about diversification in terms of your passive wealth building, but how about your active wealth building? The point is that many people, in terms of their day-to-day activity, when they're earning money, obviously, if you're in your regular earning years, you have a job for many people. Or if you do have a business, which is great, you have, the point is that if you have a job or you're a freelancer, your money is coming in from one source, one job, or maybe you're retired and your one source is that pension or Social Security. Well, this is why I tell people to add a home business to their situation so they can be diversified in their active wealth building. Because think about it. Who is safer, especially, and you've learned about the risks of these economies with the lockdowns. And to me, I feel that the lockdown, especially for entrepreneurs and small businesses, was more devastating than the pandemic itself. But regardless, the point is a home business adds diversification to what you're already doing. Because think about it, who's economically safer? If you have a job, even if it's with a municipality, or you have a job and a sideline business. Well, again, the job with the sideline business, there's more diversification, because I know people that when they lost their job, they had a home business to fall back on. So they were much safer in that regard. So the 6th reason why you should have a home business, the 6th reason is diversification. Okay, so look into it. And let's face it, all of you have hobbies and interests, things you love to do in your spare time. Your hobby is a perfect thing to turn into a sideline business, and therefore your hobbies and interests become a source of diversification away just from being dependent on one job or one source of income. So diversification, definitely. And number 7, this is a last kicker, understand economics. The reason why I put it up there is that, you know, let me tell you something. As I told you, I'm an entrepreneur. I love a free society. I love a free market economy, and I'm a big advocate of this. But also keep in mind, I told you I came from a communist country, and things like communism and socialism are, these are very bad for the economy. They increase poverty, they increase economic suffering. And I learned in a survey some months ago that over 50% of college students, love the idea about communism and socialism. You know what I mean? And it hit me that they don't understand economics. We need a free market economy, and we need people to understand that entrepreneurship thrives when we have a free society and a free market economy, and you have the rules for that. And as an example, everybody remembers that the Great Depression was a bad time, Well, people who didn't understand economics, especially politics, they raised. Did you know that during the Great Depression, the tax rate, the top tax rate, went up to 91%? Well, high tax rates are bad for entrepreneurs, and bad for the economy. So I add this one as a number 7, which is to understand economics, and I think that's very important for people to understand, so we can continue to flourish and have prosperity, etc. And that's important for me. And actually, I have an 8th reason why you should have a home business, and that's what I mentioned earlier, in passing, which is the pandemic that's out there. In many cases, when people are quarantined and you're at home, look, if you're going to be stuck at home because of things such as that, what do you fall back on if you can't go outside to make a living? Then a home business is exactly what would help you out. Okay, and so therefore, it isn't just 7 reasons. I gave you 8 reasons because I like to over deliver. So thank you for being on there. So let me get to the last panel here. Keep in mind that Lisa, I think, is going to share with all of you, and if any of you, don't get it for whatever reason, by all means, my email address is my name, paul@mladjenovic.com. But the resources I gave, and I go, yeah, I got to knock his socks off. I have to earn my way to be a good speaker at Lisa's conference. So, at that link, it's not only a video on 7 powerful reasons and a report with some resources, but I also included as my gift to you, because I thank you for having me on this sensational conference, to all of you participating. I included a 1-hour all content, full content course, a 1-hour course on 50 business ideas to help you, make money from home. So if you're like that, okay, Paul, I'm convinced I should have a home business, but what am I going to do? No worries. Beside the fact that this conference is packed with phenomenal ideas and strategies, we want to over deliver. So I've included a 1-hour webinar that I taped for my clients and students from some months ago and in the height of the pandemic, to give people ideas, services, and products that you could easily do from home, because I want you to succeed. And the greatest gift you can give to yourself is to be self-sufficient and prosperous. And what better way than to be an entrepreneur from home and getting excited by the sensational speakers at this event. So, gang, my gabbing is over, and I'm grateful to get a chance to share. So if anyone's ready for some Q&A, I'm game. So fire away.
Thank you, Paul. Anne was so nice to let me use her computer so we could try and make this work. Paul, you are so amazing and so incredible. And this is just, I'm just so blessed to have gotten to know you. And thank you so much for the generosity that you gave. And you were the perfect person to be the first one. So thank you. So there's a question on here that I also seen is that, and I think a question that people might have is, do you have to make money to have, a lot of times they'll say, well, the IRS will look at it as just a hobby and not a business if you're not making money. Is there like a time limit? Because sometimes you can be just really bad at business and not make an income.
Well, here's the thing. Among the main differences between a hobby and a business is the fact that first of all, there's no problem with turning a hobby into a business. Because I think every successful business started off with a passionate idea, and hobbies are an excellent place to start. The point is that it has to be formally set up as a business. You know, like me, for example, my company is called Prosperity Network. You like that name? You like that name? You know, but I registered it, you know, as a proprietorship. You know, it's reported on, you know, you start off on, I mean, there's many ways you could do. You could do incorporating, partnership, LLC. The simplest way is as a proprietorship, and it's on Schedule C. Your tax person should help you, but you should have a website or a blog. It doesn't have to cost you anything. You have to be soliciting for clients. You know what I mean? I mean, like, so in other words, there's a marketing plan, a business plan. You know, do you have prices? You know, do you offer consultations? You know, there's a lot of things. You know, are you formally registered? Like me, I'm, you know, as a proprietorship. You know, I'm registered at the county administration building. You know, in my area. So, and the IRS themselves, they have publications to help you see what the difference is. Like publication 334 is like their small business tax guide. And the early chapters tell you what the good business, etc. In other words, everything you need to do, you know, that's tax related, you don't, you know all of this in advance. It's all available, you know, and I give some resources in the report through the link here, Elisa. So the bottom line is this. Yes, you could turn a hobby is a great thing to turn into a business, but it must be formally a business. All the ways that any business would behave if it's out to earn a profit. And by the way, just because you didn't make money, that doesn't mean it's a hobby. You know, because the IRS realizes that in the first few years, your bona fide businesses do have a loss because it takes time to get clients, and you're spending money on marketing and other facets of business. They just want to know is, are you bona fidely looking for leads, marketing, you know, and reaching out? What are you doing? Are you active on social media? Are you making offers? You know, so all of that is easy to document. It's stuff you're going to be doing anyway when you're running a business. So hopefully that was a helpful answer, and thank you kindly for that.
So everyone, feel free to go ahead and unmute. This is your time to ask Paul any questions. And if you'd like to just share a little bit about what your business is, and Paul is here to maybe give you some guidelines on what you can do to help your business or move in a direction that you'd like to. So this is your time as well.
And by the way, if there's no questions, I'm happy to toss in with a question as well. Or an answer, I should say, to add some more content. But let's hear who has other questions.
I'd also love to hear what businesses everyone's in too, and what they're looking at.
Yeah, you might have clients right here, right now. How cool is that? Well, by the way,
Rachel, go ahead and go on. Can you let everybody off mute? Might be that they need to be put off mute. Let's see. So I'm definitely learning all of this technology, and thank you, Anne, again for helping me out on this. So one of the things that you talked about, again, with the pandemic, and that one thing I find is that more businesses are started during economic upheaval, during you know, depressions and recessions, and that. Do you find that to be also the case?
Oh no, absolutely. I think as long as you're living in a country that allows entrepreneurship, that has a basic free market, any time is good to start. And by the way, this is also, if I can embellish that a little bit, I had somebody telling me that, Paul, I have a great idea for a business. You know, should I quit my job and go do it? And I go, no, I always tell people start part-time, because if it's a difficult time, businesses starting at home, it's possible to start with no upfront capital at all. So this is why a home-based business, even in a ravaged time such as now, is a good idea, because you don't need a lot of capital. You don't need to, you know, rent office space or rent a retail outlet, etc., because that's a risk involved, especially in today's environment. So home business is great, even in a tough time such as now, especially from home business. So you don't need a lot of capital to get involved. So hopefully everyone gets that point. Yes. Other points.
Look at that.
So I see, Jan, you've got yours unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yes. I just wanted to say how amazing that was, Paul. That was great. You have so much experience in diversification. Everything that you said about diversification is so on target. I
I'm a
do
bit of
Shield
a
and I
different kind of a
right, but I'm working with notaries, trying to get notaries to diversify their income, because notary income can be so wishy-washy. So what is your suggestions for notaries to expand their business and diversify? I mean, I do Legal Shield, but to give them more options.
Well, first of all, with notaries, that's a very singular vertical in that area, and I would tend to think that if what they should consider doing is this, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If they want to do some searches for notaries, and see everybody's website that offers notary services, they can then see what other notaries in other states are doing as complementary services for notaries, because whenever I talk to people who offer something that could be limited in scope, like a notary, I always tell them, look, it's not a bad idea to diversify in that area, but make sure that they're related to the same area that they're involved in. Like, for example, I've had people tell me, well, I do an entertainment business, but I also do an accounting business. And those two things are not related, because whenever you start a new business, that's like launching a new thing from scratch. It's always good to,
Come on, guys. Come
All
on.
right. Put Mitch on.
it's always good to offer something that's related to it. So if they do a search and they find out that other notaries are doing things like accounting services, or other types of, their virtual assistants, etc., then what happens is that those are mutually, beneficial services, and they also help to expand the notary service as well, because people, if you're doing accounting, etc., it's perfect. I know some people who became loan brokers, you know what I mean? So that way they were able to make fees from loans, but then they say, well, now that we have a loan, where do we get a notary? It says, boy, if I have a good notary for you. So they're complementary services. So it's not difficult to find that out. Great question. Thank you kindly.
Rachel, did you have a question?
It was just answered. So that's good.
So what type of business do you have, Rachel?
Well, we have two. We have a home and garden, business for your home and garden. And then we are selling original music. And those are two completely opposite. So I don't know. Should we do, I don't know, not complimentary?
Well, no. You can always find it. Let me do the following, by the way, if I may. I'm going to dovetail with this. And by the way, I realize it's a free conference, et cetera, and so forth, but I'm going to give all of you homework. Sorry, I just ruined your day. Okay, I'm going to give you homework. This is for Rachel and all of you. Okay, and by the way, you're a good crowd, so I've canceled the surprise quiz. So here's your homework. Here's your homework. I want all of you to write an article on your entrepreneurial topic. This is mandatory now. Okay, I might check up on some of you. In other words, when you mentioned about the notary, a person who's a notary, they should write an article, like the 10 ways a notary can help you in your business, or something like that, and but any article you do, I want you to give away solid information. However, make sure that article is a problem-oriented article. And what does that mean? Well, if I can build on the notary point, if I may, you know what I mean? The 10 pitfalls of documentation without a notary, or whatever, you know what I mean? In other words, if articles like this, if you can point to the problems that you solved in your business and you turn it into an article, that article, I know some of my clients who will write one article and they make it an evergreen article, and they'll take that article and they'll get it published over and over again in various blogs and a lot of other places, etc., which means they're expanding. It's a form of zero-cost marketing. This is the homework I was mentioning earlier. Some of you saw I wrote the book Zero-Cost Marketing. So therefore, make it mandatory. You're going to write an article about your business topic, but try not to give away the solution. talk about problems. So which means that, well, if they want the solutions, oh, look, you can contact the author, because many places, there's places out there that you can publish it. They might not pay. They may not pay for the article, but you don't care. You're getting access to a market. You write the article, they give you a byline and a link to your website or whatever, and that will help your marketing, I think, immensely. One time I wrote an article some years ago about the 7 forecast for the following year. I might do one for this year. But that article, it was a very extensive article. I mean, I put a lot of content in there. And I got it published in a couple of websites, a couple of obscure financial websites. Well, do you know that within 2 weeks, I got almost 500 leads from that article? All right. In other words, people emailed me asking me about my course, or how can you help us with our investments, etc. All because you did. It's a form of, I call it zero cost marketing. But for you, all of you have something in your business that you could extract from that business, turn it into an article, a free article. Now, you have a powerful marketing, content marketing lead thing that you can get published over and over again, bringing you people, especially if this is your first year of being in business and you need some qualified leads. Okay, other questions?
Right. Paul, with going on with that question, where would you find those people to publish those articles? How would you find them?
Oh, you can. First of all, if there's several places I can think of. If any one of you went to a search engine and typed in blog directory and make it in quotes, or directory of blogs and put it in quotes, there's a number of websites out there where they list thousands of blogs on virtually everything. Like, for example, let me give you a specific place. There's a place called Best of the Web, and the initials are BOTW.org. That's the site, BOTW.org. All right. There, whatever your topic is, you can go there and find thousands of websites on any given niche or category, etc. But they also have one on blogs, the same site. I think it's like blogs.botw.org. Forgive me, I'm sure you can find it. But there they list thousands of blogs on any niche that's out there. All of these blogs, they're constantly in demand of content. And if you did a nice win-win situation, you go there, you go to the blogs, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite forms, of marketing is guest blogging. If you type in the phrase guest blogging and then put in your category, you'll find probably dozens, if not hundreds of places that are happy to have a guest blogger. So for many of you who don't have, who are just starting off, you don't have an audience. One of the important points about zero cost marketing is that if you have an offering, like a product or service, but you do not have an audience, then you do an exchange. You go to somebody who has an audience, but who doesn't have your content. So you can be able to find literally hundreds of blogs that are out there. And many of them want contributors or guest bloggers. Why? Because they're happy to publish your content, and you give them a nice juicy bit of your content, and in return they'll give you a byline and a link to your site or whatever link you want to provide. And that way, look, if they have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in their audience, what does that mean? Virtually overnight, you have exposure that you didn't pay a penny for. It also gave you authority, because now you can say, yes, I've been published at the following blogs, and all of a sudden, you could start generating leads within not only days, in some cases, hours. And so by all means, and by the way, if any of you are missing what I'm saying, again, you can contact Lisa. I'm ravencapitalist.com or paul@mladjenovic.com if you have a further question. Don't be shy. We're friends now. I want you to succeed. I'm going to brag about you a year from now. Anyway, other questions or points?
So we've got time for one more question from Paul. So who wants to jump in and ask that question? I'll give you a couple more seconds. So Paul, where else can we find you?
Oh, well, listen, my wife is happy I'm not found on the FBI's most wanted list. But if you're going to find me otherwise, of course, I've written over half a dozen dummies guides, like Stock Investing for Dummies, and you know, and a lot of other ones. So it's easy to find me online. But again, my site is ravingcapitalist.com. And my favorite way for all of you to continue your education and we had a chance to have some fun and have more business building ideas, go to the link that I provided with Lisa. You know, because I did a dedicated page at my website just for Lisa Myers and her conference. I think she's magnificent. And I included 2 videos and a report. And the video is a 1-hour thing. And by the way, you don't have to, you know, register or whatever. You could just go and click and watch. You know, there's no upsell or whatever. Again, I want you to succeed and make this a great year. And thank you for all of you to participate. And you tolerated me this long. I'm proud of you. All right. God bless all of you and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Paul, thank you so very, very much. You are just incredible. I am so blessed that I got to meet you and got to get to know you. And I'm just, you know, blessing you and praying that you have the incredible 2021.
Thank you kindly. Go make it a great year, everybody. Let's see what happens a year from now.
Yeah,
We're going to make it better for
absolutely.
everybody.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so we've got our next speaker coming up in a few minutes. So if you need to just do a bio break or get some water or whatever that looks like, we're going to be back in about 4 minutes. So we'll see you then, and hopefully we'll have this technology taken care of. So thank you again, Paul, and you have the rest of an incredible day.
Bye-bye, everybody.
This is not gonna work. Love the video. Oh, fuck. This is not gonna work.